You guys can't hear me. Okay, can you hear me through the mic? Excellent. Okay, well, thank you for coming and being in person. Thank you for those that are online and for coming and participating. This is being recorded today so that you can share all of this great fun training with your colleagues back in your offices. So it is nice to have a live audience. So I'm glad that you guys are here, and again, welcome to those that are online. Those that are in the room, we do have a roaming microphone, so if you have questions, we'll use the microphone so that will get picked up on the YouTube, the presentation. But feel free to ask questions along the way as we go, and I expect that this training will last just a little bit over an hour, so that's the plan today. My name is Rebecca Nielsen, and I'm the Grants Manager with Financial Operations for the Board of Education. I have been with Financial Operations now for about 5 months. Prior to working for the Board of Education, I came from Intermountain Healthcare, where I managed their grants for the last 18 years. So I've got quite a bit of grants experience, and I'm learning the education piece of that grants, how grants work. So it's different, but I've got some good background with working with Intermountain Healthcare. This is Alicia Brown. Alicia works with our vendor, REI Systems, and she's going to be helping with this presentation today. She also has been fundamental and helpful in the implementation of the Utah Grants product. So thanks, Alicia, for your help in being here today. So a couple housekeeping things. If you have questions, if you're in the room and have questions, if you use the microphone, so that will get picked up on the YouTube. And if you are online, you can ask questions through the YouTube channel by commenting, or you can send emails to John McQuarrie at schools.utah.gov. So please feel free to ask questions as we go, and if we don't get to them during the presentation, there will also be some time after the presentation. Okay, so just diving in, what is Utah Grants? So Utah Grants is an electronic grants management system. It is a statewide system that is being implemented by the Board of Education. We are the second state agency to implement, and it's been a really great opportunity for us to kind of develop and work with our vendor to make sure that this product is exactly what we need for the Board of Education. We're still continuing to develop some of the things that we need with the system. There's a lot still coming, but we've really been able to make it a great tool and a great product for the Board of Education. It will replace everything that we're currently doing in the UCA. So temporarily we'll be running the two systems in parallel, and we could talk about how that's going to work at the end of the presentation. But eventually the Utah Grants will replace the UCA completely. And all of our fiscal year 19 payment requests will go through the Utah Grant system. So you can expect that that transition will be made this summer. Also, if you have any grants that you're submitting, any paper applications or paper reimbursement requests or email, that's no longer going to be necessary in the future either. Those will all go through the Utah Grant system. The only thing that we are not currently implementing is the child nutrition programs. So if any of you have affiliations with child nutrition, those are not in scope currently, and we're looking at adding those in the future, but right now those will still be managed the way they're currently being managed. Okay, so Utah Grants, where do you find it? If you go out to the web, it's a web-based product, and you click type https://utahgrants.utah.gov. So this little hyperlink right here is how you will find the system. And we are currently live, and the system is up and running. We are doing a phased rollout approach. Currently, our Perkins grants are accepting applications, and all of our Perkins applicants are going through the system right now and becoming familiar with it, and it's being kind of a fun implementation. So we will be oh my goodness, that's a new word. All new words. We will be implementing the special education grants next, so that's why you're part of this training. As soon as we have formula allocations available for those programs, we'll be making notifications to you that the applications and the budgets can be completed on the Utah Grants system. So that's the plan. Okay, so I want to talk just a little bit about users within the system. About a month ago, we sent out a survey to your business administrators, many of you, also your colleagues on the Perkins program, asking what users your entities, your schools, and your districts needed to be part of the system. We have many set up, but we're finding that we may still need to add some others, but I want to talk about the roles that are currently available in Utah Grants. So from an LEA perspective, we have a creator and an approver. Those are the two main types. So every transaction that goes through Utah Grants requires 2 steps. So a creator and then an approver within your LEA organization. A creator is the person that will be able to create the application or create the payment request. They don't need to be the same person. Essentially, that's the person that starts the process, that whatever process it is that you're doing. In this case, we'll talk about applications. That will be the individual that initiates the application, completes the budget, and then will submit that to an internal approver. So someone within the LEA to approve that before it comes to the Board of Education. So that's the creator role. The approver role has the same access and the same rights as the creator, but they can't approve their own things. So you can have 2 approvers set up for your LEA organization. One person can create the application while the second one approves it, but the creator can never approve. One key distinction here is that the approver needs to be an individual that can legally bind the organization, because this person will actually be certifying payment requests and submitting the actual applications to the Board of Education. So make sure that whoever's in that approver role can legally bind. We also have a approver key point of contact. This is the individual that defaults as the approver. So if you don't pick on your application, and I'll show you all of this, if you don't pick a specific individual to route the application to, this is the individual that it will default to. Also, this is the individual that will receive LEA level communications, like audit requests, those type of things, be the key point of contact. Then we have users within the Board of Education. We have our Financial Operations Office, grants management users, and program fiscal specialists. Okay. Utah Grants is a cradle-to-grave grants management system. So it starts with the program creation and goes all the way through program closeout and includes everything in between. So this is a kind of high-level overview of what's happening within Utah Grants and all of the activities. So first, Board of Education will set up a program and an announcement. It will go to the LEA to apply for that program. You'll submit that through your creator and internal approval, and it will come back to the Board of Education for review and issuing of award. Then we will work together for all of our post-award activities, reimbursement requests, monitoring, those type of things. Those are not part of today's presentation. So presentation stops here. This will be phase 2, or presentation number 2. We'll talk about payment requests, management of our programs after the award, and also closeout. So that will be the next training. So today we'll talk about creating of programs all the way up through the application and awarding process. Okay. We're actually going to get into the system today so that you can see, and we'll click around a little bit, you can see this a little bit better. So this slide is a little bit hard to see, but I wanted to show you some basic navigation within Utah Grants. So here, across the top, kind of brings you through that same grants life cycle that we just talked about. So it starts with opportunities, applications, grants, and then monitoring. So if you think about the life cycle of your grant, you'll start with an opportunity and go all the way through monitoring. So when you're working in the Utah Grant system, you kind of need to put on the hat of what is it I'm doing today. If I am completing an application, I'm going to click on this tab at the top, the Applications tab, and then all of my activities will be on the left. So I will go to pending tasks or completed tasks. I'll look at the activity on the left to find where it is that I'm going. And again, the life cycle just follows straight through and across the top, left to right. Okay. All right, so some icons and pointers and things that you'll be seeing within Utah Grants. Most of these are pretty self-explanatory, and if you hover your mouse over any of these icons, they'll tell you the name of the icon and the action that will be performed with those. The things that you're going to see the most and that we'll talk about today will be this green eyeball, the view icon, and the blue pencil edit icon, and also the green action arrow. Today, because we're demonstrating in not in our production environment, but a lower environment, that arrow may not be green, but the arrow means the same thing. Also, a couple tips and tricks. Make sure that you're saving often. Save between tabs. So if you're switching between tabs, save. If you're going to step away from your computer, make sure that you're saving. The system will time out after 30 minutes, but it's just a good practice and a good idea to just save often, especially if you're entering a lot of information or you're working on an in-depth application. Make sure that that information doesn't get lost so that you're saving frequently. Also, there is a sharing rule within the system. Once you own a record, you are the only person that can edit that record. So, for example, in an application, if you start an application and indicate that you are the creator of that application, you have to finish that application. You can't stop and start and give it to somebody else to finish, and you also can't collaborate with somebody else. You do the application piece and they do the budget piece. It's only one person that owns that. So the collaboration is going to have to happen within your organizations and work together to make sure that one individual is entering everything that's needed for that application. So that's actually really important. And as we get in, I'll show you, there's a little pop-up box that says, are you sure that you want to own this record? There's a way for us to change that if we need to, but it involves getting our vendor involved, and we don't want to have to do that if we don't have to. So just pay attention when that little pop-up box comes up that says, are you sure that you want to assign this task to yourself? Make sure that's really what you want to do. Okay. Okay, also, there's some really awesome, robust search and filter functionality within Utah Grants. So first is the quick search. You can enter any keyword that you want to look up, especially as grants come on and we're implementing more and more programs. There's going to be quite a list of programs that you're looking through. If you want to find your Perkins program, it'd be easy to type in here Perkins, and it will pull up anything that has Perkins in any of these fields or boxes. So quick search is a great way to find what you're looking for. Additionally, you can use the filter functionality, which is this button here. So you can say, I want to look in the announcement title, something that contains Perkins, and your operators, you can click on the little drop-down box and you can say equals to, not equal to, just those different operators. You could also use the little plus button to add additional filters. Just note that when you add additional filters that it becomes an and statement. So you're filtering for Perkins and 2019. It's not Perkins or 2019. So it just adds and narrows your filter. Okay. Okay, so some key vocabulary and functions within Utah Grants. So we start with a program. The Board of Education is given some money, either by the state legislature or by the federal government, and that becomes a program. So we'll set that up within Utah Grants, and then after that we'll make some announcements off of that program. If it's a competitive announcement or competitive program, we may have multiple announcements that come from one program. So for example, if you have a program that has an announcement in June to start submitting applications, and then there's still money available, they may submit another announcement in December for additional applications to come through. After the announcement, we have grants. So the grant is a relationship between the Board of Education and the LEA. So essentially, when we decide that we're going to be giving you money, that becomes a grant. Okay. And then we have an award for that grant. There could be multiple awards, as we may amend that based on different amounts or changes of activities within the grant itself. So the award is the actual document or the amendment that pertains to the grant. And then we also have tasks. We have budget revisions and amendments. Okay, so high-level overview. This is a page you may want to come back to. Oh, I kind of skipped like a whole section. You might want to come back to this, but first I need to tell you where this is. So Alicia, let's pause for just a second. On our website, let's pop out there for just a second. You'll probably follow my notes. Okay, so on the Board of Education website, if you click on Departments and Programs, Financial Operations, and on the right, Utah Grants. Okay, here is everything you need to know about Utah Grants. There's going to be a ton more information coming here as far as user helps, different information that's available. But if you click on the Grants Management System, you'll actually see today's slides in the LEA Users Guides. So when I say you might want to bookmark that page, that's where you're going to find it in the LEA User Guide right there. And again, more information will be available from these pages, on these pages in the near future. Okay, so major pathways and programs. So all Board of Education programs are going to be running through the Utah grant system. We have our MSP programs, which currently don't require any action on your part to complete an application. These are our minimum school programs. You don't need to complete an application, but you'll be able to manage the finances of each of these programs and see how much you've been getting directly through the system. And that's kind of a nice thing, that everything will be together in one system. We do have some MSP programs that require an application. Those will be running through the system as well. Today we're going to be talking primarily about the formula grants. So this is where you're given an amount. You need to complete an application that goes along with that, tell us how the money is going to be spent. You also need to complete a detailed budget associated with that program. And then we have competitive announcements where you can compete or apply for different grants that are available. Okay, so the way that you find the grant within the Utah grant system may be a little bit different depending on the type of program that you're looking at. Because we're focusing today primarily on the formula grants, I'm going to show you specifically where you find this. And this is another great page to bookmark. The application will start at a different process. MSP doesn't have an application, so you'll just go directly to the grants tab on the top. Whereas on formula grants, you'll go to the application section. Okay, so we'll talk more about that. And again, with the life cycle. So for federal formula grants, the Board of Education will upload a financial allocation for each of the LEAs that are eligible for the program. And then the Utah grant system will generate an invitation to apply for that grant. You should receive an email with an invitation to apply. If you don't receive an email, you will also be able to find that task directly in the Utah grant system. Note that the email will go to every user in your organization saying that you have a task to complete for this specific program. So you may want to go out, if you do get that email and you know that it's your grant and your program, you may want to go out and just start that application so that nobody else can accidentally click and be curious about what that program is and become the owner of that application inadvertently. Okay, so you'll receive that email to complete the application. You could also waive funds at that point. The grant manager then reviews the application once it comes back to the Board of Education, and then the award is created. Okay, so let's actually dive right into the system and talk about users and profiles. So I'm going to ask Alicia to actually log into the Utah grant system. Okay, so she is logged in. This is what you see when you first log into Utah grants. First thing that you're going to want to do, you're going to be prompted to change your password. I want you to look at your organization and just make sure that everything looks right for you. So you're going to start at the Home tab and go to Manage Organizational Profile on the left. And if you haven't already noted, the cursor doesn't always match up to what's on the screen. So I'll try to point out what Alicia's pointing to there. Okay, so for this particular user, they are a user of Alpine School District, and this is just pretend data. This is not real. So you'll want to go in and review all of the information that's on your profile. Go ahead and scroll down for just a second. You could also see all of your contact information and your users that are currently set up on the system and the role that they're currently assigned. If you'll scroll back up, Alicia, you'll find that because I've signed in as a key point of contact, I have this nice little edit button on the top right corner. The key point of contact can edit specific organizational information. So that's one additional functionality that the key point of contact has. They can also invite new users to the system. So when we clicked edit, it popped open a couple boxes that the LEA approver can then go in and update if necessary. If there are items that are not boxed in, that means that they're locked down, that we need to change them here. So if you or your LEA find that things need to be changed, like your EIN or your DUNS number, you can contact the Board of Education and we'll make sure that that gets changed. In fact, there's an email address that I will note at the end of the training today. It's grants, what is our email address? utahgrants@schools.utah.gov is where you can email if you have problems like that. There it is, utahgrants@schools.utah.gov. Thank you, Alicia. Perfect. Okay, so let's say that there is a new user, a new person for my organization that I need to add. The LEA key point of contact can do that by clicking under the contact section on this new button. And then we can complete the information needed here. So we can indicate whether this is a creator or an approver. Because you will work with the Board of Education primarily, the sponsoring agency is going to be the Board of Education. This list will continue to grow as the state of Utah implements this system throughout other agencies. First, last name, phone number, and email. And save. And then Alicia's going to go back to the organizational profile. Okay, and now you can see that I've added a new user. Alicia, who did you just add?
Rachel.
Sorry?
Rachel Anderson.
Rachel Anderson. Okay, there she is. So she's new here. But now I actually need to send an invitation to Rachel. So I'm going to click on the purple icon to send that invitation. Rachel is going to get an email saying, you've been set up in the system as a new grants user. Please fill this out and make sure that this is really legitimate. The request will come to the Board of Education to approve. The reason for that is we actually pay for licenses for each of our users of the system. So we want to monitor and make sure that we're keeping costs low and only approving those which are appropriate. I have a question, but I'm going to bring you a mic. Hold on. I want to make sure everyone can hear. Thank you for asking questions.
If we're the key point of contact, can we also remove users?
You can't, can we? Let's try. Can we remove users, Alicia? Okay, so right now that needs to be done through the Board of Education. We actually don't want to technically remove a user, but we can deactivate that user. So yes, and in fact, we want to make sure that we're doing that. So if we have people that are leaving the organization, we don't want to continue to pay for that license that goes unused. So we're going to need to work out a really great system to communicate that back and forth, or make sure that there's a button on there for you to request that gets removed. So we will note that. That's a good question. Okay. I did also want to point out that there is a document that talks about the different roles on our finance website. It talks about what the creator can do and what the approver can do. It's actually the PDF document if you'll click on that. So just here.
Oh, you got open.
There. Oh, nope, that's not it. Is it on the website?
Let's check.
There it is. Okay, so on the finance website, there is a document that talks about the different roles and what they do. So you can use that and reference that if you have any questions about what kind of role you need to assign to this individual. Okay. All right, so this request will then come to the Board of Education. We will approve that or ask any questions necessary, and then the user will be sent an email with a link that they can then log into the system and become an active user. So we're actually now going to log out as the key point of contact and log back in as this new user and start completing an application. Oops. So you won't need to do any of this switching back and forth. You'll only have one user ID if you only represent one school, showing for demonstration purposes what the different user roles can do. Oh, what happens if you represent more than one school? Great question. We actually need to have a separate user request for each school that you represent. So we do have some individuals that are a SPED director for more than one district. They kind of share that resource. That individual actually needs a sign-in for each of the districts they represent. Okay, so I've signed in. I'm putting on my cap that says, what am I doing when I log into the Utah Grant System today? I am going to be applying for my SPED grant. So I'm going to go to my Applications tab at the top, so here, and then I'm going to go to Pending Tasks. And within the pending tasks, it will show all of my programs that are available for an application. You'll see one of these belongs to you, the IDEA School Age. Perkins isn't yours, so you'll want to be careful not to click on Perkins unless you really do want to fill out the Perkins application. Because we're going to be applying for IDEA, we're going to click on the little action icon next to that, and a pop-up box will appear. Are you sure you want to start this application? Are you really, really sure you want to start this application? This is the warning I was telling you you need to heed. So if you see an email that comes through and says you have a new IDEA program that you're eligible to apply for, you know that you're the person that's supposed to complete that application, follow the link from the email or pop right out to the Utah Grant System, go in and start that application so that you can become the owner so that someone doesn't accidentally curiously click on that link and say, is this my program? You can just become the owner of that, and you can save it, finish it later, but mark yourself as the owner. So yes, we're sure we want to start this application. Okay, so it gives us some key information in the Overview tab. So these are the function tabs across the top. What is it that we're doing? We're working in applications. Then we have another set of tabs here that go along with that application. Also, I want to point out this status bar will tell you at what point you are in the application process, which is really helpful. Once you get past a couple of points, you can actually hover over that little checkbox and find out who did each of those steps and when, so you can monitor that as you go. So we're going to start in the Overview tab. It will tell us about the program. You can check and make sure that you're really applying for the right school if you have more than one school that you represent. So I'm in as Alpine School District, and I'm going to go through my overview. It looks like the Board of Education has allocated $10,000 for my school. Oh, she clicked edit. So perfect. That will actually open up some other boxes for you to start editing. The application title is one that you can change. So if you want to call this something different for your district, you certainly can. You can just rename that, or you can keep the default name. That's fine too. This is a very important box, internal approver. This will typically default to your key point of contact. However, you can choose who the approver is if you have multiple approvers for your organization, and your key point of contact is a person that it's like your superintendent, and he or she doesn't log on to their computer very much, but you have a boss that also has signature authority. Let's assign it to your boss instead so that they can actually go in into the system and approve that application. So you can choose right here who that routes to. Again, this is something that can be fixed on the back end if we need to change it, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of manpower to do that. So just be careful that you're selecting the right person of who you want that to route to when you're completing your application. And then your project abstract or description, you can just put in, for right now, we'll just kind of keep a placeholder there. You can add your total project abstract here. And we're going to save. And again, when I'm in the system, I really like to go left to right. It's pretty simple. So I'm going to move from the Overview tab to the Budget tab. All right, here I have basic information about my budget. So Board of Education gave me an allocation of $10,000. Because I haven't completed a budget, I still have $10,000 yet to be budgeted. This particular indirect cost rate associated with this program is restricted, and for my entity, my restricted rate is 2.11% in this example. We're going to go ahead and edit this budget, so we're clicking on the top right corner, the Edit button, to open the budget page for editing. I'm going to complete my budget narrative. How am I going to be spending my money? Put that here. And let's go ahead and, just for fun, let's save that one more time. Again, just save, save, save. Okay, and scroll down. This is the budget category. So this is the detailed budget that you're going to be completing for each of your programs. If you click on the blue pencil next to each of these items, it's actually really quick. You just go through each of them all together, opens each of those boxes that you can start completing. You'll notice that property does not have, we're going to pause for just a second. Property does not have that same kind of a box. It's a pop-out box. So I'll ask Alicia to start there. It tells you to list your property, the quantity, the unit price, and then you can add as many property lines as you need to. This will serve as your prior approval for any equipment over $5,000 that you need to purchase. However, if that changes from the time of your application, you will need to revise your budget. Okay, so we just have one item for $6,000. She's put the detail in there of what that entails. And close that box. And you can see that that's added right there. Let's go ahead and save that, Alicia. And enter the rest of our budget categories. Your indirect costs are going to automatically calculate for you based on the amounts that you enter and the rate that's there. It will not calculate on your equipment or your other costs. Are not eligible for indirects. So it will actually indicate which lines it applies to. So in this case, applies to lines 1 through 7. And it will calculate after you save. So it's not a bad idea just to complete this on your Excel spreadsheet, have your formula all worked out, or your finance person has your formula all worked out and gives you the numbers to enter here. And this is a great double check to make sure that all of your formulas and calculations are correct. Okay, so you can see my allocation exactly equals $10,000. I have zero budget left to allocate. I do need to budget or put into categories every dollar that's in my allocation, so I can't leave any unallocated funds there. Okay, so now I want to move to the attachments tab. This is where I'm going to actually complete the meat of my application. So this particular program has a couple of forms that need to be completed and also some attachments, some PDF files that need to be completed to go along with the application. So first I'm going to enter any form data that's required here. So by doing that, I'm going to go into the blue pen. This is my maintenance of effort form. Is it working? It's thinking about it. Okay, so this should look familiar with what you've seen previously in the UCA. You will confirm that these are all of your numbers. Take a look at that. If they're incorrect, you'll let your program manager know, and then you'll acknowledge yes or no here and save. And then we have a second form associated with this application, which I believe is our private school proportionate share. And there we go. So there's all of our participating, or all of the schools, private schools that are associated with our district. And we can indicate with each of them whether they're participating or not, or contacted. Any comments? So again, this should look familiar to what you've seen in the UCA previously. Okay. And all of these are required, so it'll take us just a minute to go through and fill them in. Any questions while we're waiting? So far, pretty straightforward? Okay, great. Alicia, you're doing great. No pressure. Okay. And then is there a place for us to save that? There it is. Okay. All right. And then let's go back to the application. Oh, one more? Oh, we missed one. Okay, there we go. Oh, this is a great thing to note. So I didn't see this previously. Down here in the right corner, you'll note this is page 2 of 2. We only saw the first 10 records on the first page. So this is one thing that you may want to pay attention to, is this little box down here. You may need to scroll down to another box if you've got multiple or too much data on that one page to fill. John, hold on, I'm going to get you a microphone. He loves it. I can tell. Oh, we have a question online. Okay, so it's not John's question, just relaying. Perfect.
We got a question from an LEA, and it says, does the owner single point status follow through the entire grant, i.e. the stuff that will be covered in part 2 of the training for submitting expenses, et cetera, or can that be a different person than the owner of the application?
That is a really great question. The owner is only the owner of this particular application. It's not the owner of the entire program for life. So the application owner that's the only thing that you're owning. When it's time to do a reimbursement request, that can be a totally different owner and a different approver for that matter. Okay. If that doesn't answer your question, let John know. Okay, good question. Okay, so we've gone through all of the pages of the private schools, we've saved, and we want to go back to our application. Okay, so we've finished this data form section here. So we've done our maintenance of effort and our private school proportionate share form, and then we're going to scroll down. And there's 2 attachment sections. One, it's okay.
These have to appear at 100%.
Ah, okay. So now that we have those completed, Alicia clicked on the Validate tab to complete that section, make sure that all of the data forms are validated. Okay, so now on the attachments, these are PDF attachments that go along with your application. So the first section, attachments from grantor. This is the application form or the template or any set of instructions that we give to you to start completing the application. You can view those attachments here in this little hyperlink that says View Attachments, and it will open that attachment, which you can then, you'll go back to that, you can then download that and save it directly to your computer. Okay. Then in this section, attachments for the grantor, this is where you'll upload any completed applications. So there will be some required documents on your application, some informational documents, and then also you can upload any other documentation that you feel like will be necessary to help support your application. So in this case, when I click on this drop-down, oh, Alicia's so fast. If you click on this drop-down box, the application is a required field, or a required document, so I have to complete the application in this case, and then I can also pick as many others as I want to. So if I want to upload a really cute picture of my kids in the other, I can do that, if I think it will support my application. Okay, so let's go ahead and attach a file, the correct file for this program. Okay, and put in a description of what it is, and save. Okay, and again, I can go in and add as many as I need to, or for any required documentation that can be added, and I can add as many files as necessary. Okay, and then you can also add any notes that you feel like you want to add here, anything that will help clarify any questions or things that are going to your approver. Everything that you see and fill out on this screen will be seen by the Board of Education on the application altogether. Be seen by the Board of Education. It will also be seen by your approver. So your approver will be able to see everything that you're entering here. Okay, so I think our application is done, right? There's also a history tab, so we can see if we've made modifications to this application. We can go back and look at the history, see who's made what changes over time, which is a really great function. All right, so it looks like at this point, again, I can waive my application. So I can say, you know what, this $10,000 isn't worth this whole application. My kids don't need it. We have lots of money in our school district, so we're going to just waive this application altogether. That will also bring up another pop-up box saying, are you sure? Are you sure? You're really, really sure that you want to waive this because it can't be undone? So just make sure that that's really the case, that if you want to waive funds, we can reallocate that to other institutions, but make sure that you really want to waive it before you click that button. In this case, we actually want to submit the application. And again, with pop-up, are you sure? Yes. Okay, so 2 things are going to happen. One, it's going to move the application from a created status to a submitted for approval status. And an email is going to go to whoever was indicated as the internal approver, saying you have an application that needs your approval. Click on this link. The approver can then follow the email link, or they can log directly into the system and they will have a task pending for them to complete that review. So Alicia, let's log out from this creator and log back in as their approver that they indicated on the application. Okay, so now the approver says, what is it I'm working on? Oh, I know I need to approve an application. So I'm going to click on my Applications tab at the top and go to Pending Tasks on the left. Okay, and then I can see that I have an application that's that second line down, that I have an application that's been submitted for internal approval. That's the one I want to go in and approve. So I'm going to click the play button. And again, I'm going to see all of the information that the creator completed on the application, all of the forms, the budget, everything. One thing that you'll want to note is that the approver cannot actually make changes to this application at this point. If anything is wrong or needs clarification or correcting, the internal approver will need to send it back to the creator to make those changes and resubmit. Okay. They can also reject the application. We would just caution against that. We would probably want to either approve the application or send it back for revisions and any comments that are associated with that. So as the approver, I've gone through all of my tabs across the bottom, looked at all of the documents, everything looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and approve this application. Yes, hold on. Microphone, John, would you pass the microphone down? Thanks.
So if the approver finds like errors or something they want corrected, is there a way for them to mark it in the application, or do they just put the notes right here?
They would put it in the notes section. So they would say, hey, your budget is for travel. We're not going to be traveling with this grant. Make sure that you take that out. So you would just put it in text that way. They can't flag the specific area that they need fixed, but they can comment on what area they need fixed. Okay. All right. So we approve this one, Alicia? Are we good? All right, let's submit it. Okay. It will now come to the Board of Education, and we will be reviewing those applications. The nice thing is that we can review those as they are submitted. So we don't have to wait for all of the applications to be turned in before we start our review process. So you may see on the Overview tab, if you'll, Alicia, there should be a date, like when this application is due. That's the date that it was submitted on. Let's see, is there a application deadline? There we go. 10/1/2018. Pay attention to that deadline. Once that deadline passes, you can't apply for the grant again. So make sure that you're paying attention to that. But if you see sometime in September, you start getting an email saying, hey, I have a question on your application, don't be worried. It's because we're starting to review them ahead of time when we have, how many, 130 LEAs applying for a specific grant. It takes a lot of time to get through those reviews, so we can start doing that as soon as they're submitted. Okay, so that gets us through this formula application. After the Board of Education receives that, answers any unanswered questions, we are able to issue an award directly to you, and you can start spending your money. So the award letter will actually come directly out of the system. Before we do that, Alicia, let's pop back to the system and note that it changes in our life cycle. So as soon as the grants manager awards the grant at the Board of Education, this is no longer an application. You'll find the program now under the Grants tab. This becomes a grant after it's been awarded. So within this Grants tab, it will still give you all of the information for the application will flow over. You'll still have all of your application files. You'll still have that same overview. You'll have all of the information associated with the program. Go ahead and view that one. I don't think it's the same program, but we can look at it and see. And this is also where you're going to start doing your payment requests. And you can find your awards. So if you click on the awards tab, you'll be able to find your award. In this case, they got 10,000 on this one, or 100,000 on this one. Okay, and you'll find all of the information associated with your program, the budget start and end dates, program numbers, everything that you need to know. And you're going to find, also budget revisions. So if you need to revise your budget for any reason, that will be here. And what were you saying, Alicia? Anything else?
This is where payment requests are started.
Okay. Looks like we have a couple payment requests in flight. Payment requests that have been, one that's been approved and one rejected. So you'll do that here as well. And again, that will be in our second training. But what I wanted to show you here was this is where you'll also find, so all your program-specific information, you'll also find your award letter. The award letter will be mailed to you, the program manager, the owner, and to the key point of contact. But you can also find it here if you've misplaced it. So let's show them what it looks like, Alicia, when an award letter goes out. We can actually, there we go. So this is what your award letter will look like. It gives you all of the information pertaining to your award. So just basic stuff. You need to make sure your DUNS number is valid. So the money is coming from the Board of Education. In this case, it went to Beaver School District and their DUNS number. And then the federal award information section, this is the information pertaining to the Board of Education's award from the federal government. So this will give us the high level. The total award that the Board of Education received was $11 million. Who it came from, the CFDA number, all of the basic information pertaining to our portion of the award, and then any URLs, guidance that we have pertaining to that federal award. And then after that is the subaward information. So what is the applicable indirect cost rate? This is a different award that we're viewing now. So in this case, it was 4.24. The start and end dates, the amount of the award. If this were an amendment, my current and cumulative may have changed. Also my program manager, who to ask for questions, and then some other legal information or program-specific information would be found right here on this award letter. Okay, so any questions thus far? This basically got us through application all the way through award on a federal formula program, so such as the IDEA or IDEA preschool. Yes?
Do you have any idea when
Hold on.
the timeline is that we can start this application?
Timeline to start completing the application. I don't. Jamie, do you have an idea on the timeline? We expect it in June, is what I'm understanding. So you'll start seeing emails. I'm sure there'll be a lot of communication going out when that does happen. Today's June 1st, so this month. Yay!
And then the deadline would be October. When is that?
Is that right? November 1st is our deadline. Okay, thank you. Okay. And you may receive a revised allocation at some point during that process. So if we have new allocations that are coming from the federal government, or we have any LEAs that are waiving funds, you may get more funds that then you can go in and rebudget before it's finally completed. That may even happen after the award is completed and awarded. So at any point, we may have multiple budget revisions. You can also waive any new allocations. So if you get a new allocation that's $1.20 and you don't want to mess with it, you can just waive that piece, and that can get reallocated to another LEA. However, if an allocation does decrease, which I understand in some programs sometimes that does happen, you don't have the option to waive the decrease. Sorry. Okay. I'm going to pause on the formula allocation for just a minute. We're going to talk about a competitive award because I understand a lot of us wear multiple hats. And I want to show you how you can find a competitive program that you need to apply for. It'll be different than finding your formula allocation. So in a formula program, we actually start the application for you in draft status because we're telling you the amount that you've received as an allocation. That essentially starts the application process. So in this case, we started by going to applications to find our program. In a competitive program, we actually start in opportunities. So we're going to click on the farthest left tab here. And this lists all of our competitive opportunities that are available to us. So really, Idea School Age is not a competitive program. This is in for just example purposes. But if this is a competitive program that was open to all institutions of higher education, for example, I could limit my application to the type of organization that I want to apply. I can look at it by clicking on the little green icon button. make sure it really is the program that I want to apply for. So note the difference in the actions. The green eyeball is safe. You can look at anything with the green eyeball button. It's that play button that you need to be careful with. That will assign the task to you. Okay. So now I can review this. This looks exactly like the same. This is essentially an announcement for an opportunity. We can review this, see if this is something that we want to apply for. And if it is, I can click on the interest button, which is at the top. Oh, also want to point out that the same buttons that appear at the top will appear at the bottom of the screen. So depending on if you've scrolled all the way to bottom, or you don't have to scroll back and forth all of the time. So this is something that this is a program that I want to apply for. So I expressed an interest, and what that did is essentially move this from an opportunity for me into a draft application. So now I can find this in my applications tab and start applying for it. Okay, makes sense? Okay, one other thing I wanted to point out before we leave this demo environment is you may have noticed this lovely little green, orange, because I know my colors, pop-up help center at the bottom. Alicia has actually done a lot of work to get these all set up. They're really helpful kind of click-through helps. If you have questions about something that you're doing, you can click here and say, how do I find and complete a formula application? Click on that. Note that this help center may get large as different state organizations come on. Look for USBE first and then our specific help topic. It will actually walk you through the clicks, tell you exactly where you need to go. You can still enter your own information, but it will walk you through each of the steps of that process. So in this case, it's walking you through, you go to the Applications tab, you're going to click on the Play button, it walks you through each of those specific tasks, which is really, really helpful, especially the first couple of times that you're going through. Okay. Okay, so let's go back to our slides. Okay. Actually, I think yep, that's pretty much it. At this point, we'll have a second training for our post-award management. We are making a lot of progress on the payment request process. Just a reminder, most of your BAs should already have this information, but we will not be able to make payment requests after July 9th. So July 9th will be the last time that you can make a payment request in the UCA. At that point, both systems will be frozen until about the month September. We won't be able to make any payment requests until after that point. We have to convert all of our existing programs from the UCA into Utah grants. When that happens, you'll need to complete a new budget for each of those carryover funds. Programs will calculate how much is left over. You'll need to calculate your budget based on that. Go through the application process and we'll issue a new award letter for any migrating or existing programs. And that will be in addition to any new programs that you're applying for. So you may be applying for old money, old carryover money at the same time that you're applying for your new money. Okay. So, and then also to come, so payment requests, September. We're also working on our monitoring programs, our audit verifications, site visit portals. We've got all sorts of great functionality that's coming, and we'll be giving a lot more information on that as it's developed and finalized. So, questions? Let me get you a microphone. Who has the microphone? Oh, John. John wants the microphone. Thanks, Jamie.
Are there any funds that could not roll over that we need to absolutely finish by July 9th?
Are there any funds that do not roll over that we absolutely have to finish, Jamie?
No, anything.
Anything. That's a loaded question, I think.
I know Title I and IDEA roll over, but
Jamie, I think we want to hear your answer, though. So come on up and you can share my mic.
So my answer is it depends, because there are some programs that are state funded that are ending this year that we're not getting funding for next year. So yes, you will need to have your final reimbursements in by July 9th. If they're federal funds and they're rolling for 27 months, then whatever carryover balance you have at the end on July 9th, we'll load that balance into the new Utah grant system and you'll just continue going on. The only thing you'll have to do is just put in a budget and then submit reimbursement requests. So it kind of depends. It's you have to tell me what program specific ones you're talking about, and then we can answer that question.
Well, like like Javits or the library funds, things like that.
So your MSP
Yeah.
library books,
Yeah.
those ones are all paid on 1/12. So you should have those done by the end of the year. You'll get your 1/12 amount, and those are taken care of. Javits is reimbursement base.
Yeah.
Is your award letter for 27 months or 12 months?
I'm not sure.
That's what I would check and see what the period of availability is on that. And if it's past the end of this fiscal year, then whatever carryover balance we'll have, we'll just load into the system like normal.
So just check all the award letters.
Check your
and make
award
sure.
letters and see what your
And if
period of
if I didn't get award letters for some of them, can I contact you?
contact
Yes,
any
or
of
your-
us,
your
yeah,
program
or your
manager.
program.
Mhm.
Should all, depending on whether they're state or federal, yes.
Thanks.
It depends. The loaded question, the loaded answer. Any other questions? Thanks, Jamie. Okay, if you think of questions or as questions arise as you start getting into the system and using it to complete your applications and your budget, we have a helpline, 538-7604, or a general email address that's the utahgrants@schools.utah.gov. Also, my name is Rebecca Nielsen, and you're welcome to call me directly. My line is 538-7666. So, yeah, looking forward to working with you and answering any questions you may have. And thank you again for participating and coming today. Appreciate it.